Hello, everyone. Welcome on this beautiful Saturday morning to the Right Crowd 2021, a virtual literary expo. I am so very excited to be hosting the premier kickoff panel of the 2021 Right Crowd year with A Novel Experience Volume 1. And I am joined today with my dear friends, Alissa Karin Shirah and Jacqueline E. Smith. So I am super, super excited because this is going to be a panel filled with all things novel and literary. We are going to discuss their writing journeys, how they came to write, how they became authors, what stories they have out in the world to share and have published, as well as projects that they're working on now and things to stay tuned for. So I can see that we have people joining. Someone's already put a heart. Thank you so much. And I have some comments coming in as well. We have James Karen saying good morning. Hello. And we have Melanie Robbins saying hi, good morning, and some sunshine. And we also have Furry Friend on YouTube saying hi with a smiley face. Robin Rodriguez says hello. We have a lot of interaction this morning. How absolutely wonderful. So remember, to everyone watching and viewing, you can comment on Facebook or YouTube with some questions or just to say hello, as we've been doing now, and I can bring it up and we can talk, interact, and answer those questions. So this is as interactive as you want it to be. Miracle Austin, who is another author and going to be on later on this afternoon, says, Jackie, with lots of books and books. Oh, this is wonderful. And Tammy Karen says, good morning. So we've got good interaction. We've got great audience joining in today. Keep it up. It's going to be absolutely awesome. Furry Friend also comes and says, hi, Mrs. Shirah. So
I don't know who Furry Friend is, but hello.
Hello. So keep commenting, keep saying hello. It's going to be a fun time. So we can kick off by doing a very, very short introduction. One by one, we can have Alissa and then Jackie just simply saying hello, who you are, what have you written, what is your genre, and where are you tuning in from today? Starting with Alissa.
Hello, I am Alissa Shirah. I have written Going Home. I have one published book. I have another one coming. It is finished. I'm in the stages. I am from McAllen, but I am tuning in my hometown of Dallas. I'm up here to see my daughter perform in a theater performance in a couple of hours. So, hello.
Absolutely wonderful. I love it so much. And Jackie, if you could give a brief overview, where are you tuning in from? What works do you have? All that fun stuff.
Hi, I'm Jackie, and I have, I think, 13 books. I have ghost stories. I have young adult romance. I have romance in general. I have suspense. I love a lot of genres. And I am tuning in from Dallas as well.
We've got Dallas in the house here. How exciting. And I myself am Katelynn Rentería. I am tuning in from Harlingen, Texas in the Rio Grande Valley. And I have The Other Side of the Law out and published, my first novel. Second one is wrapping up. Hopefully 2022 is the year where a lot of good things are going to happen. Graduation, second book, maybe even a children's book, who knows. So cool and exciting things to come from that as well. But we can go ahead and jump into some questions regarding, I have comments again. John M. Moody says, go Dallas! Go Dallas! Yes.
So hi, Mr. Moody.
Yes. So again, if you're watching and you want to interact, you can say hello. You can drop a comment. I can bring it up on screen. We can answer your questions or interact and say hello. So be sure to say a lot of fun things. Furry Friend says, all these books sound amazing. Thank you, Furry. We appreciate the support. So keep the comments coming. It's going to be a cool, fun, nice interaction. So firstly, I would like to kick off talking a little bit more about your books. So you mentioned the title that you've written and a little bit of information on it, but now it's time to go a little bit more in depth. So starting with Alissa, what is Going Home all about? Were there any inspirations? What's it derived from? What's the content? What's the message? All that good stuff.
Well, Going Home, first of all, it's a young adult novel. It is a modern day take on the story, The Prodigal Son from the Bible. It follows Cynthia, who does not want to live at home anymore under her father's rules, and so she leaves, and instead of an inheritance, she gets her college money, and she gets into a whole bunch of trouble while she is away from home and she's trying to get back home. If you know the story of the prodigal son, there's no surprises. It follows the same story. The book that I just finished is the sequel to that, what happens after she does get back home. It was inspired in a church service. I knew I'd always wanted to write a book, and I would start a couple and it just wouldn't go anywhere. And then it was like, the lights during this one sermon about the prodigal son. I was like, that's the story that I want to write, and I want to write it so that everybody can read it and understand it. And it's not considered to me a religious book. It's just the same storyline.
Very nice. I love that a lot. And we did get another comment while you were talking from Angel Cervantes saying, "Hi, Miss Shirah." So people are tuning in. People are saying hello. Again, if you're watching, be sure to drop a comment, say hi, ask a question. We want this to be as interactive as possible. And so, Jackie, I know you have a wide array of novels to talk about and choose from. You've got something for everyone, which is absolutely beautiful. So take some time to discuss your books, what inspired them, why did you write them, and some messages behind them, all that fun stuff.
Well, I'll just I'll focus on two for this panel. The first is going to be my young adults romance novel, Boy Band. Let's see, it's hard to bring it in the camera. This actually, and I chose Boy Band because it actually began as a National Novel Writing Month project. I had been writing my ghost story series, Cemetery Tours, and one November, a friend of mine said, "Hey, you should do NaNoWriMo." And I thought, oh, I don't want to do that. That sounds like, I don't like being timed. That sounds like such a challenge. But then the more I thought about it, the more I was like, you know what? Yeah, why not? I want to try something new. And so that night, my sister and I were watching a lot of One Direction music videos. And I just remember thinking, they're so cute. I bet they're so much fun to hang out with. And I realized that Boy Band is the story about, I guess I should tell you, it's about a young lady in love with her best friend who just happens to be a member of the world's hottest boy band. And I realized that that's the story I would have wanted to read when I was in high school. And so I loved writing it. And I loved the series that followed. And my second book that I was going to talk about is my Royal Romance Christmas novella. It's called Once Upon a Midnight Clear. And this one was inspired. I love Hallmark movies where the prince, or Netflix movies where the prince falls in love with an American girl. However, I realized that in every single movie, the antagonist is always like the jilted princess or baroness or lady who the prince was supposed to marry. And I'm like, you know what? I kind of feel for her. I wouldn't like it if a girl came in and stole my man and stole my job either. So I decided to write her story.
That's so exciting. And again, you have so many different titles and you've got something for everybody, but I know Boy Band is it's an amazing, like, just topic and idea to, like, because it's true, you know, like I know in middle school and high school, that's the kind of story that I would want to read. And again, you've got all these projects coming up and that is so very exciting. And so we did have a couple of more comments coming in. Chelsea Cook says, "Hi, Alissa, excited for you. One book or novel at a time." The lovely Mrs. Rosario Osuna says, "Hi, beautiful Jackie. Love Boy Band." Hi, Rosario.
I love you,
Happy birthday to you. Today is her birthday, and she's still tuning in.
It's
and
your
saying
birthday.
hello. Yes, thank you, Rosario.
Happy birthday.
How awesome. She will be on a panel tomorrow, so stay tuned for that. Melanie Robbins says, "I'm going to buy Miss Shira's book." And Marshall on YouTube says, "I loved your book, Uncle Marsh." And Furry Friend has asked our first question and says, "Where can we get the books? Where are they available?" What's your answer to that, Miss Shirah?
For mine, it is on Amazon. You can just go to Amazon and type in my name and it'll pop up. Also, if you're in McAllen, I am on the shelves in both of the Barnes and Nobles.
Awesome.
But just in McAllen. I don't think anywhere else. I think it's just there.
But still, it's exciting to go into a store and say, like,
and I walk through every once in a while and I'll pull one out and face it forward instead of just the spine. So it's on display.
Amen.
Yes, I do.
Yes. Awesome. And Jackie, where are your books available for people interested?
You can find my books on Amazon, on Kindle. 6 of my titles are available on Kindle Unlimited. And I think, if you type them in on barnesandnoble.com, walmart.com, target.com, I think you can find them there. But Amazon is unfortunately the best place to get them.
Very nice. And I know mine are also available on Amazon. You can find them also at Barnes & Noble online. And I need to do that, just subtly bring it up on display. And then you can even get it on walmart.com and Kindle. So that's exciting. And we have a couple of other comments coming in. One book or novel at a time says, "Good morning, ladies. So happy to see you all." Good morning, Rosario. Michael Betancourt says, "Interesting premise coming from the villain perspective for Jackie on Once Upon a Midnight Clear."
Thank you, Michael. Thank you for tuning in.
Yes, thank you for watching. And my best friend in the whole wide world says, "Good morning, ladies. Happy to see all of you." Hi, Roselle. Thank you for watching. Thank you for supporting. And Miracle Austin says, "Jackie, please discuss your beautiful photography books later." Yes, I will give some more time so you can talk about stuff like that as well.
I don't have them back here, so.
Really?
No.
We can talk about them. It'll be fine. And then Rosario Ozuna also says, "I will be sure to stop by Barnes & Noble and check out Alissa's book."
Thank you.
Aww.
Awesome. Melanie Robbins says, "Me too." And Chelsea Cook says, "We have a Kindle copy and a hard copy of Going Home."
Yay. A signed one, right?
Yes. Awesome. Okay. So the very first question, as with every story that starts at the beginning, is how did it begin for all of you? How did your journey, as a writer begin? I know you, Alissa, you talked a little bit about like where it came from. Jackie talked about where the story came from too, but was writing something across your lifespan? Was it something that started because of a certain event or influence? How did you get started falling into writing, and then how did that, expand into an actual career?
For me, I think I just enjoyed my writing assignments at school. I remember in elementary, we had to write poems. And so I started with just the little short poems about my dogs. And then I remember being in elementary school, I wrote about a cat named Lucky who got lost. And I carried that around on a folded piece of paper for a very long time. And I wish I still had it. That would be awesome. But I don't. And then life happened. I'm a math teacher. I don't teach anything that has to do with writing. I guess I did when I taught elementary school, 4th grade writing. Yay. But it just was always something that was in the back of my mind that I wanted to do. And then I think what really happened is I have some friends on Facebook from high school, and then one of my brother's friends, they were published authors. And I was like, I can do that. I want to do that too. And so I was very inspired just by people I know that were writing and publishing books. And now I know you and a lot of other people, especially from the Valley. And it's just, anybody can do this, you guys. You have a story, write it.
100%. I love that sentiment so much. And it's true. Like, even I know you guys are from Dallas, and I know there's a whole array of talent over there, but I know from personal experience, here in the RGV, there's so much in the youth, in students, in classrooms. You can see that they like writing and that the seed's already planted, and they just need that little push to keep growing and keep doing it. And I love that you said that. Just 100%. If you have a story, if you want to share it, go for it. We believe in you.
You don't have to wait until you're an adult. Katelynn will tell you her story. She was not an adult when she wrote her story, her book.
I will talk about that momentarily. But yes, lovely sentiment and absolutely important message. And so for Jackie, how did it all start for you? Where did you begin writing? Where did that love come from? And how did it lead to where you are now?
Well, I've been writing for fun my entire life. I can still remember the very first book that really made me feel like, oh my goodness, words and stories have so much power. It was Shortcut by, oh my goodness, I usually have the name right off the bat, but it's about a group of kids that take the train tracks home, and while they're on those tracks, they can hear the train in the distance. And I thought I remember being 3 years old, sitting in my little preschool classroom and just getting chills and thinking, ooh, I love that. I want to do that. And now I never really thought about it as a career. I mean, as I got older, I started writing fan fiction, quite a lot of fan fiction. And I still love fan fiction, honestly, because the stories that I love, I can never get enough of them. And so, if you can't turn to the original source, go to fan fiction. It's awesome, and I love it. But when I was a junior in college, I got a really bad upper respiratory infection, and I spent the entire week on the couch with a stack of romance books. And I can still remember the exact paragraph I was reading as I started to think, hey, I could do this. And I just never looked back. It really wasn't ever I want to do this. It was I could do this. And so that's what, Alissa, I loved what you said about if you want to write a story, if you have a story that you think needs to get out there, write it. Find a way to get it out there, because the world needs your story.
I absolutely love that, and it is 100% true. And we did have a couple more comments coming in. PL on the DL from YouTube says, hi, Auntie Alissa. The book is fabulous. We love you, from Peggy, Lay, and Seneca. And Tam Aaron says, going home is faced forward on my bookshelf too. So proud of my sis. Yay. And Michael Betancourt says, that's a perfect message, Alissa. That mentality was a catalyst for why we were so excited for Katelynn and Jackie to be at the Harlingen Fan Convention, showcasing what they can do. Geeks doing what they love. Projects by fans for fans. 100%. It was absolutely an amazing experience. Just to go to Harlingen Fan Convention as a geek, it was the greatest thing to see cosplay and to meet all the actors and things like that. But then again, to also showcase reading and have that audience connection, it was absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for putting that on. And it ties to Alissa's message very much so.
Well,
Katelynn, who did you get to meet there? Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
I got to meet John Wesley Shipp, guys. The original, The Flash, and Jay Garrick on the CW series. That's in one of my top 10 moments. Well, absolutely lovely. Thank you so much for allowing Harlingen Fan Convention to let me do that.
I have a question, and I hope it's not a silly question. I just don't know the answer. What is fan fiction?
Ooh, Jackie, take it away, because I have I will go forever. What is fan fiction for everyone?
Essentially, fan fiction is say I really love Harry Potter, which I do. And when I was growing up, I grew up while the books were still coming out. So the summer after the 5th book came out, I thought, I need more. I can't wait for the 6th book. So I got online and I found there's this website. And of course, nowadays it's expanded. But back in my day, it was fanfiction.net. And all these fans, you can write your stories about whoever you want. Say you want to know what Draco Malfoy has been up to in the Slytherin common room while, we're following Harry, Ron, and Hermione around. Some fans write that story. For me, I really loved Sirius, James, and Remus, the Marauders, and I wanted more of their stories. And, their time at Hogwarts wasn't heavily featured. So I read a lot of those stories.
That's really
it's every single thing you could possibly think of. It's books, it's movies, it's manga. I mean, I'm pretty sure, this is kind of weird, but I'm pretty sure there are even fan fictions about real people, like BTS. I'm pretty sure it has some fan fictions out there. I haven't read any, but I've heard of them.
That sounds fun.
It is really fun, especially with I know I personally also like to read fan fiction just because it's so cool to have writers that they love that show or that book or that movie just as much as you, and so they'll write stories about the characters and things that they think and scenarios that you would never see in the book, but it's just so much fun. And again, when you're waiting for more content, it's constantly being made by people like you who love it just as much as you, which is super fun and exciting.
That is.
And some of it is, kind of silly. One of my sisters and mine's favorite was about when the whole Weasley family went on a road trip, and it's absurd and it would never happen. But some of them are really good. Some of them are just wow, this is even better than the original source.
We have furry friend tuning in saying, Mrs. Shirah, you don't know fan fiction. Well,
I do now.
We do now. We're teaching. We're sharing all the information. And Miracle says, great explanation, Jackie. So
thank you, Miracle.
We learn, we grow, we learn from each other. And Patricia Renteria says, you talented ladies look amazing. Super proud of Jackie and Katelynn representing the writing community at the Harlingen Fan Convention in November. Thank you, Mom.
Hi, Patty.
Thank you for sharing. So Yes, we can go on to our next question, which is, what is your current occupation and how do you balance that with writing? So either a career or a very important, aspect of your life. Because I think one of the coolest things about being a writer is that, it doesn't have to be your job. You can be doing something else and you can have other passions and you can do different things in your life and still be an author, still share the stories and all that fun stuff. So Lisa, what is your current occupation and how do you balance that with also writing?
I am a 6th grade math teacher. Hi, guys. Thank you so much for waking up and logging in at Morris Middle School in McAllen, Texas. I am also a mother of 3, and they are older now. One is a freshman in high school. I have a junior in high school, and my oldest is finishing her first semester of college. And I'm also a bassoonist. I play in the McAllen Wind Ensemble, and I teach private bassoon lessons, and I tutor after school, and balancing that with writing doesn't happen. And so I write during the summers and on my breaks. So I've not figured out how to balance it during the school year, and that's okay. I look forward to writing. I look forward to jumping back into my stories when I have the time to do it. And someday I will have more time.
But you get it done, and you have the first book out. The second book is on the way. It works. It works.
It works. And the second book took half as long as it took to write the first one. It's a little bit shorter, but the first one took 4 years to write, and this one only took like 2.5. So that's exciting.
Very exciting. Oh, I love that a lot. And Jackie, what are things that you do in your everyday life with occupation or your volunteer work that, and how do you balance writing with that?
Well, for a few years now, writing has been my full-time career, and I am very fortunate. Now, granted, I do work a lot of side jobs. I'm a graphic designer. I have worked as a transcriptionist. I've worked as a kind of secretary for a travel company. So I am always taking jobs on the side to help with writing. And I'm also a photographer. Miracle mentioned that I have photography books out now, which I do. So I love taking pictures. I also have a Redbubble shop that has a lot of my photography and even some book swag there too. So if you want to check that out, it's on my Linktree. But I guess my biggest thing is I volunteer at the Dallas Zoo. What was that? Oh, I'm sorry. I might have a lag.
Yeah, I think there was just some echo, but you're good.
Oh, sorry. I volunteer at the Dallas Zoo as a conservation ambassador. My job basically is to talk to people about elephants and lions and giraffes and gorillas and, tell them why we need to be saving these animals and protecting them for future generations. And because they have the right to exist on this planet just as much as we do. And yeah, wildlife has always been a huge passion of mine.
I love that. And again, like combining the passions with the written word and like the photography books and just, other stuff in general. It's absolutely wonderful. And I love it very much. And I know for myself, I am a full-time student. So I'm realizing now that when it said, how did your writer as a journey begin? I got so excited talking to you all that I didn't even talk about myself. So we're doing a compound answer right now. But going back to that, being young and it doesn't, matter how old you are or what you want to do or where you want to go with it. I always loved writing from a very young age, and I'm very, very blessed and fortunate that my parents saw that and they nurtured it and they helped it grow. They would read bedtime stories with me every night. If I wanted to go to the library, we would go to the library. When I wrote my stories, like the cat walked in the rain to the store, they were like, that's awesome, keep going. So they were always really supportive and everything. And I actually grew up writing and always had different stories. But when I was 14, a particular story came into my mind. It was the first one that actually stuck. And I wrote and wrote and wrote and wrote and wrote. And so when I was 14, I wrote my first manuscript. When I was 15, I finished it. And when I was 16, I published The Other Side of the Law. So as a sophomore in high school, I accomplished one of my life goals. And that was absolutely amazing. So 100%, it doesn't matter how old you are, where you come from, or what you want to do. Believe in yourself, pursue, and absolutely you can get it done. And on the occupation side, I am a full-time student. I graduated high school with an associate's degree in biology, and I did my bachelor's in 2 years at UTRGV in psychology. And now I am a graduate student for experimental psychology for my master's degree. So lots about the brain and all that fun stuff. But again, it doesn't have to so much deal with like English or creative writing or things like that. But I love writing so very much enough that to continue to, do book events and signings and say hi to all of you and host something like this to showcase other wonderful writers. So it's always a lot of fun, and it's very nice to have either writing as your full-time career, which is amazing, but also to be able to do other things you love and still incorporate that into your life. So we have some comments coming in. Melanie Robbins says Mrs. Shirah is a great tutor, and Furry Friend says I agree. Go Morris. And Miracle Austin says phenomenal stories, talented lady. And John M. Moody says, I first published at 50. I now have 20 books. I just wish I could have started early like all of you. 20 books is a fantastic accomplishment, Mr. Moody. 100% hats off to you. So,
and they're not short books either. They are. Mr. Moody is in my writers group in Denison, Texas. And his books are so amazing. And, these are not just like little books like this. They're huge. So, yeah. He's a fascinating man.
Wonderful. I love that a lot. And we have Raul Martinez Jr. coming in saying, I'm a late arrival, but good to see you, Jackie, Alissa, and Katelynn. Thank you for joining, Raul. As always, wonderful. How awesome. Okay, so my next question is a little bit of a fun one, where if I were to take a picture of you in the middle of your writing process, what would it look like? Where would I see you? Where would I find you? Are you eating? What are you wearing? What's the setting? Or is it a computer? Is it a notebook? Is it hastily strewn around napkins? I know for myself, it would be probably in this living room at like 3 a.m. with some like lemonade, and then my homework open over here, but then my stories open over here. And yeah, so I tend to write a lot at night or whenever I just have like that time of quiet, to myself and things like that. So I am very much a night owl, and you will find me with some sort of show playing in the background and writing at that. But if I were to take a picture of you all during your process, what would that look like for you, starting with Alissa?
I think usually I'll be sitting on my bed with a couple of pillows behind me on my little computer tray. I will have a tub of Nutella and a bag of pretzels. Yep. And I'll have on my fuzzy Winnie the Pooh PJ pants. And I will have papers spread next to me with timelines so I don't mess up my timelines. And I'll just be typing away. If the weather's nice, I will do the same thing on the outside couch with my dogs next to me on the couch because they're not allowed on my bed. So they like it when I work outside.
I love that so much. I love that you mentioned the timelines thing. I think people don't realize how hard it can be to keep track of your own story and what you're writing. And so I'm a huge outliner.
I messed it up a little bit. I had one of my nephews, my Gabe nephew, and Gabe, he said, well, you were a little bit wrong here, because he was helping me. And he fixed my timeline because I messed it up. It's easy to mess up.
But that's why we have readers, and that's why we have supporters, and that's why we have giant outlines saying this is what happens and this happens next. And remember, this was here. And I know that's part of my writing process too. But Jackie, if I were to take a snapshot of you in your writing process, what would that look like?
Well, I would also be in my pajamas, sitting on the couch, underneath a blanket. Well, at least now that it's getting colder outside, definitely with a blanket. And I'll have a giant glass of water next to me because I am a big fan of hydration. That is my number one piece of advice to anyone. Stay hydrated. Katelynn, stay hydrated. And I have my cat with me. And I'll probably be watching a movie on Netflix or Disney Plus on mute just to have kind of something going on that my eyes can, kind of see in the background. And yep, very, very comfy, cozy environment. And like you, Katelynn, it's usually about 3 a.m. In fact, that's what I was doing at 3 a.m. just, 6 hours ago, which is why if I seem tired right now, it's because I am.
But that's how the process works. That's how we get it done. And we had another comment come in from YouTube saying, hi, Mrs. Shirah. So we have people coming in and saying hello. And Chelsea Cook says, sometimes, Alissa, you go on a weekend getaway to Holly Lake to work on your novel.
Yes, with me once. That was a lot of fun.
Absolutely wonderful. So my next question might be a little bit difficult to come up with an answer, because I know me for myself, I wrote the question and then thought, what's my answer? So we can mess with it a little bit, but it's, what's your favorite line? Yes, Jackie, sorry.
You forgot to answer your question. What do you look like when you write?
Yes. Oh, I said it a little bit about the
Oh, did you?
3 a.m. and like
Okay.
I'm doing like homework and writing and watching a show and all this stuff. My brain is at 7 different places at once at all times.
Okay.
3 a.m. is where you'll find me, either in my bed or in this living room playing with my rabbit.
Oh, that's right. You said the living room. I'm sorry. My bad. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. But yes. So my next question would be, what's your favorite line you've ever written or message that you've portrayed in your book? And I know myself, trying to go back to my favorite line I've ever written was it was more difficult than I thought it would be. But I think it would probably be the tagline that I use everywhere for The Other Side of the Law, which is, remember, the world is a dangerous place, because it makes it sound exciting and thrilling and suspenseful. And as the series progresses, you're going to see more about why that certain line is as important as it is and the messages behind it. And it sounds edgy, but it's cool. So that's probably like my favorite line, just because the messages that come from it later. And I think just the message that I've portrayed in my work that I love a lot is the whole, it's about a Texas girl. She's a teenager. She doesn't have superpowers, but she's out here stopping bad guys, taking names all over the world, doing her best. And that's the message that I want readers to take away. I want them to be able to read and say, well, I'm like her, or she's like me. I can do awesome things too, just by being myself and working hard. So that's my answer to this. But Alissa, do you have a favorite line you've written, or maybe like, I really liked this one chapter, and then a message that you want people to grab from it?
Well, you weren't joking when you said this was really hard to answer. I wish I had a favorite line that is something I'm going to look for now, so I can have that ready to go. But my theme is unconditional love. Just no matter what, you are loved. You are loved, even if you don't always feel it. You are loved, and that's just my theme right there. I don't know. I'd have to think more about the rest of it.
I loved that, though. You are loved, even if you don't know. That in itself is like, I'm putting on a poster in my living room. Like that's beautiful in and of itself. And Jackie, for you, do you have a favorite line or just a message from any one of your stories that you really like to emphasize?
So off the bat, I can't think of a favorite line. However, I will take this as an opportunity to brag for a moment. A few weeks ago, my sister was Googling or was on Twitter trying to find me because I had tweeted something really dumb and she wanted to retweet it. And she typed in my name, and the official Twitter of the Empire State Building popped up. They had quoted me. They didn't know who I was, which is fair. But they had used one of my quotes from my Christmas novella, my Royal Romance sequel, Once Upon a Times Square. And the line is, New York is a work of art in and of itself. It's a masterpiece that shouldn't make sense, yet somehow it does. And I saw, the more I kind of looked for it, I saw that pop up quite a few places online. And I thought, well, that's really cool.
That is
cool. You're famous. Famous. And Miracle is celebrating, putting woot woot. So you're famous. You have supporters. Remember us when you're in New York talking about how that book was featured by the Empire State Building Twitter.
Well, let me tell you, I am never going on top of the Empire State Building again. It's a terrifying experience.
Oh, that's too funny. But I have some more questions. And again, for anybody watching, be sure to say hello, drop a comment. I can bring it up on screen and we can interact. If you have any questions, either pertaining to writing careers or the writing process, them personally, questions about their books, we are here to answer. We are here to engage. So drop a question or say hello. And my next topic would be, before I do that, Furry Friend says, I'm going to make a painting of that, Mrs. Shirah. Unconditional love. Beautiful.
See it.
Beautiful. So, my next question would be, what do you see for your future pertaining to writing or otherwise? So, I know you have some projects in the works that are to be announced and that you're working on, but what else do you see either with your career or with family or any other life events? I know for me, this book stayed to be continued. So, the sequel is aiming for 2022. And again, lots of other projects coming from that. Graduation, master's degree will be degree number 3, and that is looking forward to 2022 with that. And then, PhD programs after that, most likely, and just continuing. I am a very bookworm academic, if you haven't noticed, so I'm going to continue in that aspect of my life. But I will continue to do things like the right crowd. This is always so much fun to do it. The second annual and have it virtual is amazing. And you never know, maybe in a few years, we're all going to be in person. We can dream big, right? So we'll see. But starting with Alissa, what future plans do you have, writing or otherwise?
Well, otherwise, I don't have any. It's gonna. I hope it's smooth sailing for a while and staying put and doing what I'm doing and what I love to do right now. I have no plans to change anything as far as writing. After I get my sequel published, I do hope to write something that's more on the middle school level, maybe, so that I can target my students and have something for them to read and something to carry in the library where I work, because I think my books right now are just for high school and older. But a middle school series is something that I'm very interested in writing.
I love that.
And I've been thinking about this for a little while. I do want to write Going Home as a screenplay. I want to, yes.
That's exciting. Oh my God.
That might be my next project. It's something I've been thinking about because my kids are all in theater and I'm watching them do these plays and musicals and I'm like, I kind of could see it up there. So maybe.
That would be so amazing. Oh my gosh, yes, 100%. You have our full support. I know the viewers are probably going to think that's super exciting too. So yes, 100% continue and go with it. And Jackie, any future plans for yourself, writing or otherwise?
I was actually just last night making a list of all the books that I want to write in the immediate future and books that I still have. Okay, I'm going to get to these eventually. And I'm about to finish my next young adult novel, which is actually a spinoff of the boy band series. It's called Shipwreck Girl. It's about a ballerina who falls in love with a drummer in kind of like a pop punk alternative band. And it's so much fun. I have loved writing it. And have a secret project that I'm working on with someone. I don't know if she wants me to reveal who she is, but it's fun. Working on, oh gosh, I just have so many books in my head that I don't want to say out loud because if I do, I don't want to do because I definitely have the next Cemetery Tours, the 5th book in the Cemetery Tour series, the 3rd book in the Once Upon series that I'm going to want to get out soon. And as for other goals that don't include, just putting books out, one of my favorite things about being an author is getting to travel to different book events, especially, things like Harlingen Fan Convention, which was just, oh my gosh, it was amazing. And not just because I got to work with you, but that was the most amazing part, Katelynn. Let's see. There are a lot of, like Comic-Cons that I want to go to. Teen Book Fest by the Bay, which will be in February. Oh my gosh, my brain. February 19th, 2022. Excited that that's coming back. I love that. I love getting to meet new people and new readers, and it's the best.
I love it. And we do have an audience question coming in from YouTube saying, from Bennett Cruz, how do you come up with the cover pictures of your books? So when it comes to book covers, how did you make that happen? And I know for myself, my publisher, Outskirts Press, is absolutely amazing. They're a self-publishing press from Colorado. All the praise to them because they create a beautiful product. I told them what I wanted, and I'm so amazed that they were able to take what was in here and make it come to life, because looking back at the description I sent them, I thought, how in the world did they derive that? Because I was like, I want, the shadowy background with a rooftop, and, there's going to be a guy running behind a girl with a bow and the helicopter and I gave them so much, a little bit of it incoherent, and then they brought this beautiful piece to life. So I know for myself, my publisher got it done. I told them what I wanted and they made it happen, and I will forever be grateful. So Alissa, how did the cover for Going Home come about?
Well, it was a stock photo that was just listed on Archway Publishing, and I saw it and I was like, that's her. And a lot of people think it's me. That's not me. I wish that was me. That's not me. It was a stock photo, and I just saw it and I knew immediately that was my cover. So it was another magical moment when I saw it.
It's perfect. I've read your story, and it just, looking back, once I closed it and I saw the cover again, I thought this was the perfect picture to encapsulate this. It's awesome.
I get with the second one. I don't even know what the title is going to be. That's where I'm stuck. Title.
But that's one of the fun parts.
Hard
It's cool. It's the hard part, but a fun part. And Jackie, for you, I know your book covers are a little bit more diverse, and you've got stories with that. So how do your book covers come about?
So most of my book covers are pictures that I have taken, or in this instance, a boy band. This is a picture my sister took of New York, because I actually wrote boy band before I ever visited New York, but she had. And so I was like, hey, I need to steal one of your pictures. But so Cemetery Tours, this is a picture that I took in Jefferson, Texas. My trashy romance novel, trashy suspense novel, I actually had my sister and my friend Hannah pose for those. So I used beautiful women in my life to grace my book covers, and they're wonderful, and I thank you for that. But I do have also a few stock photo covers, such as the Once Upon series. Both of these are beautiful stock photos that I just found on pixabay.com. You can use them for free. You can, and I gave the photographers credit inside, but yeah, use them for free, use them for whatever you want, and I love Pixabay.
I love it very much. And we have some more comments coming in. Miracle Austin says, love it. And Furry Friend gave an update on that painting and said, I'm going to give you the painting after the break. So look forward to that. And Miracle Austin says, loves TSN for Jackie and her titles. All the love, all the love. But my next, again, for any audience members, we still have some time left. So if you have any questions or just want to say hello, or anything that you heard that was interesting and you want to share it, anything that you're enjoying about this, be sure to drop a comment. I can bring it up on screen. We can interact, have a fun time. So my next question would be in terms of advice, because now that you've shared a little bit of your stories, from the aspect of getting inspiration to your writing process and, what it looks like when you're writing, what advice would you give to anyone wanting to be a writer and then subsequently as an author, either, from actually writing versus it's scary to be able to put your words out on paper and put it out into the world. It can be a scary thing. So what advice do you all have to anybody who wants to become a writer and then maybe later become an author?
For me, it's I said part of it before. My advice is, if you have your story, write it. And there's ways you can get it out there without it being actually published. If you do publish and you're going to be self-published, my advice is to research. There are different levels of self-publishing, different prices for self-publishing. There's so much out there, and I wish that I had taken more time to find the perfect self-publishing company. The one I went with did an amazing, beautiful job. It was just really expensive. It was more than I wanted to pay for it. And then what was the third thing you said?
Writing process, or sometimes it can be scary, or just any advice written in the writing.
The scary part is, it's one thing to have your idea and to get it down on paper or on the computer and then get it published. That's one thing. And then the next part is selling it and that's the scary part, is getting yourself out there and really selling it. That's hard. That's something you don't think would come with, sitting by yourself and writing, very different from presenting it to the world. So that was the scary part for me. But I'm a shy person in general, and I think I've done okay with it. So it's actually been fun. Stuff like this, I absolutely love, because it's not scary. I see me, and I see Katelynn, and I see Jackie, and that's what I see. And so this part's fun. I like this.
Yeah, and you're doing fantastic. I still have one of my favorite pictures is from South Texas Book Festival, where it's me and you, and we have those like, she's an author, she's an author. It's fun, and so getting out there, it is scary. It's really scary to say, oh, these are my innermost thoughts and the story I would like to present. Please read it and enjoy it. And it's another thing to get up in front of people and talk about it, and they ask questions and thinking on the fly. But it's absolutely fun, and I know I love it a lot too.
And it's worth it. It's worth it.
Yes, 100%. And so, Jackie, do you have any advice either in the actual writing or once you become an author, or any scary parts that you've learned to overcome or different things like that?
Well, what's funny is instances like this where I'm talking to an audience, those are the moments that I get the most nervous. I've had this talk with our good friend Cody. So he gets very nervous when he's actually trying to sell a book. And see, when I'm one-on-one with someone, I'm great. I can do that. With this is where I get nervous, and he loves it. He like shines when it comes, as do you, Katelynn. You guys shine when it comes to talking to an audience and making presentations. And I'm just like, uh-oh, okay, don't sound like an idiot, which I'm afraid I do like 99% of the time. But my advice would be, there is not one right way to do this. What works for one writer is not going to necessarily work for another. Like Katelynn and Alissa were both talking about their, what is it, your timelines and all your plotting. I'm a pantser. I'll have a general idea of what I'm doing, but I'll just sit and I'll write and go back and check my timeline later during the editing process. And, what works as far as, the publishing process goes, I go through Kindle Direct Publishing, which is a branch of Amazon. I do everything myself. I do the formatting. I learned to do it myself because I didn't have any money to pay anyone else to do it. So it's, it's a learning process. Things I've learned, I never ever thought that I would know how to do, or it's like, growing up, I never thought I would need to know it, but I'm so proud that I do. So again, what works for one person does not necessarily work for another. There's no one right way to do it. And if you want to get your story out there, again, just find a way to do it, because nothing is impossible these days.
100%. I love that very much. And that would be my sentiment too. Just, it doesn't matter. I know I've said it before, but it doesn't matter who you are, how old you are, where you come from, what it is you want to accomplish. There are always going to be obstacles. It's never a straight incline right towards success. You're going to hit road bumps. It might be hard sometimes. It might be scary sometimes. It might even get to the point where, you want to give in the towel and say, well, it was a good run so far, but maybe this wasn't for me. You are going to be blessed and rewarded with so many amazing things if you keep the hard work going and if you keep pursuing. And I think more on the writing aspect, it's scary just to share things with people. I remember when I first had the manuscript, it was even my parents who supported me my entire life, and they knew I liked writing and they loved it. It's a scary thing to give it to someone else and have them read it and digest it and see you in that way. But it's always good to share with people that you care about and people that you trust, because, they can tell you feedback and what you thought. And, oh my goodness, this was awesome. This was great. And to have that support system is wonderful. So, before you share it with the world, it's a wonderful thing to be able to share it with other people, get insight, and then just put it out there. It's scary. It might be tough, but I know us three here will support you wholeheartedly. And I know so many other authors from the RGV and beyond who would do so as well. And so, comments. So Alissa, while you were talking about, the scary parts, but then also just writing it and sharing your story, Miracle Austin put yes, and all her support for the sentiment. And Karen Darcy said, your fans are loving seeing you.
Yay. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you. So again, we still have some time left. So anybody who wants to drop a comment and say hello, ask a question, we're more than happy to engage. And Raul Martinez Jr. says, good to be reminded of the need for authors to sell their books, whether it turns out challenging or even outright fun. Yes, getting books into the hands of readers is 100% the thing that we're trying to do. And so it can be challenging, but it's so much fun to be able to see someone with it in their hands and they loved it, they enjoyed it, they shared it. It's always amazing.
Well, and I'd like to add that even if I hadn't sold a single book, I think the best thing that has come out of this whole experience, I've been doing this for 8 years now, has been, the people that I've met. I mean, Katelynn, you're like one of my best friends in the world now. And we met through books. Miracle, Margie, Cody, Emmanuel. I mean, like all of you. We met because we decided, and we come from all different parts of the world. Like Miracle's in Waco, Cody's in Arizona, Manuel's in Round Rock. I mean, we all met because we decided to go on this crazy writing journey. And I love it. I can't imagine my life without all of you now.
I love that so much, and it's 100% true. It's the journey as much as it is the destination. So I love it a lot. So I do have 2 final questions or 1 final question, depending. But Miracle Austin says, can I hear a short excerpt from one of your books? So would you all be willing to share a little bit of your written word with the audience so that way they can get a feel of your writing style and just hear the story and get hooked. And then they'll go to Barnes & Noble and they'll go to Amazon and then we will have books in the hands of readers. So,
Miracle, why are you making us work?
Would you like myself to go first, or do you all feel ready and confident?
If you would like, go for it.
Okay. Let's see. I have my display book here on the ready for if I need to grab. So here I have The Other Side of the Law, a young adult fiction novel, and I will read the prologue, which is about 2 pages. Like a raindrop on velvet, I silently dropped from a dusty air shaft to the floor of Spades Enterprises, clad in navy and shrouded in the dark. I glanced around the tech lab I had landed in, knowing that a door was 32 feet to my left, thanks to the building blueprints I had memorized 16 hours earlier. Almost subconsciously, I began to carry out my mission, silently gliding across the floor to the main computer at the back of the computer lab. I unclipped a mini flashlight from my utility belt, shone it on the desktop, and switched on the PC. While the computer warmed up, I slipped a USB drive out of my pocket and held it millimeters away from the port I was going to plug it into. I counted down how much time I had before the left-wing security guard came into the lab for a routine check. 64 seconds. Plenty of time. The second the computer's lock screen came up, I plugged in the USB drive, and I watched expectantly as the screen went from displaying Spade Enterprises logo to an array of speeding numbers on a green background. I smiled as the algorithm on the drive unlocked the computer and pilfered through the files, picking out any of particular interest. While the USB drive was working its magic, I began to search the drawers for any folders or documents that would provide any vital information. Oddly, the drawers were filled with pens, paper clips, calculators, and other generic office supplies. Yet there were no folders or documents in sight. I carefully stripped a paper off of a sticky notes pad, folded it, and slipped it into my pocket as a souvenir. My internal clock told me that 38 seconds remained before the guard came in, and as if on cue, the computer screen flashed brightly. The USB drive had done its job, and I knew that it had copied files and erased any potential digital fingerprints of mine with efficiency. With 22 seconds left, I had unplugged the USB, turned off the computer, and made my way to the air shaft I had popped out from. I unclipped a rope and hook from my belt, and I threw it up to the shaft. The hook sailed through the opening, attached to the frame, and I began to pull myself up. Once I was safely in the shaft, I rolled up my rope and hook and clipped it back onto my belt. No sooner had I placed the cover of the shaft back onto the opening, the guard opened the door and stepped into the room. Mission accomplished. So that is a peek inside The Other Side of the Law and how the main character, Kay Verdant, does all of these amazing spy-related things. But Alissa, do you have an excerpt from your story that you can share?
I do. And to all of my 6th graders out there, I highly recommend you read Katelynn's book. I've read it, and I know you all will love it. So I will get you more information on that.
Thank you.
Okay, this is the beginning of Going Home. I am considerably older than you two, so I need my readers. I was wrong and you were right. I don't even deserve to be called your daughter. I was wrong. You were right. I don't even deserve to be called your daughter. I don't deserve to be called your daughter. The words flew through my mind like the mile markers flying by on the side of the road. Each marker was bringing me closer to the end of my journey. It had been a long one and a very painful one. But now I was headed home, tired, hungry, broke, and broken. I just hoped my father would let me enter his house. I'd never thought I would find myself riding on a Greyhound bus. Until 3 days ago, the only form of public transportation I'd ever taken was first class on a jet. Daddy had always made sure that we had the best of everything. My sister and I had each of our choice of a brand new car on our 16th birthdays. Of course, the ever practical Mary had chosen a fuel efficient vehicle. Even though it was over 6 years ago, I could still hear her now with her holier than thou attitude. I need a car that will get me back and forth to downtown without using a lot of gas. I want to be able to help Daddy in the office whenever he needs me. So she chose a hybrid. Not me. I had once overheard Daddy talking about his friend's full-size Hummer. Daddy didn't usually get excited about anything, but he'd been excited about that truck. So I'd asked for a cherry red Hummer H3. Mary rolled her eyes, confirming my selection. And to make it an even more rewarding choice, Daddy had often asked to borrow my keys just so he could take it out for a little spin. Mary hated that. My father's name is Lucas Anderson. He's the strong, silent type, accustomed to getting his way and rarely encountering opposition. He is a workaholic who thinks that quality time can be replaced by a credit card. That used to bother me until I learned to take advantage of the system. Either he never noticed or never cared. Lucas Anderson is one of Dallas's most sought-after lawyers. His specialty? He represents fathers in child custody battles. I have lived most of my life wondering how in the world he could enjoy ripping children from their mothers. And when my parents split, guess who got custody? These issues had plagued me for most of my 19 years. But now I was finally starting to understand. Mile 42, I was wrong. 43, you were right. 44, I don't even deserve to be called your daughter. The mile markers never stopped torpedoing toward me. As I stared out the bus window, I didn't even notice the unending farmland. All I could do was rehearse in my mind the confrontation that I would be facing in a mere 500 miles. Mile 45, 46. I could barely keep my eyes open.
I love it so much. You get so much background into the character, the situation, her personality, her feeling. You can already just connect and feel. I love it a lot. And I'm so excited for book 2. Amazing. And Jackie, do you have an excerpt from any of your works that you'd like to share?
So I don't think I've ever shared one from Once Upon a Midnight Clear. And since we're getting into the holiday season, I thought, let's do that. Okay, and it begins with news articles online. Royal wedding countdown, only 3 weeks left. Nicholas and Britt, happily ever after in the making. Oh, and by the way, I'm not even going to attempt to do any sort of accent because even though my little countries are fictional, I just don't want to offend anyone. Just don't want to do that. San Cecilia's very own Cinderella set to marry Prince Charming on Christmas Day. Prince Nicholas was never one to believe in fairy tales until an enchanting young travel writer appeared on the scene. After a chance meeting on the square and more than a few romantic walks through the castle gardens, the handsome prince got down on one knee and asked Brittany Walker for her hand. A commoner by birth, the lovely and spirited Miss Walker has adapted to her newfound place in the public eye with grace and humility. She'll be the perfect princess, a source close to the royal couple claims. She loves Nicholas and she loves the people of San Cecilio, and by all accounts, the feeling is mutual. Although the soon-to-be HRH has indeed captured the hearts of her future subjects, certain members of the royal family were not so easily won. It has been understood for years that Prince Nicholas would marry Princess Rosalind of Mondovia. Breaking that betrothal was a risky political move for the Principality of San Cecilio, but Nicholas was most insistent. If he couldn't marry Britt, then he wouldn't marry at all. In the months following her royal engagement, Miss Walker has attended princess lessons, met with foreign dignitaries, and even accompanied Prince Nicholas to state dinners. In addition, she has immersed herself in the royal charities and has become a goodwill ambassador for numerous causes and organizations. She may not be of royal blood, but in her heart, Brittany Walker is the very definition of a princess. And in the end, the The heart is all that matters. You're doing it again, aren't you? Once upon a time, I truly believed that having my own office in my own wing of the palace meant that I would finally have a space all to myself. A sanctuary, if you will. Or if not a sanctuary, then at least a personal retreat which would require one to knock before entering. I think it goes without saying that that was a dream that did not come true. No, I answer automatically, shutting my laptop before my nosy brother can peer over my shoulder. You're lying. No, I'm not. Princesses never lie. We embellish. You know, you're not doing anybody any favors by obsessing over those articles, Robert declares, making himself comfortable on my sofa. If anything, you're only making yourself more miserable. Thank you for that, O fount of all wisdom. Come on, Rose. I thought you had gotten past all this. I have. But have you seen these headlines? San Cecilio's own Cinderella. She's not one of their own. She's an American. She's from Indiana. Oh, and she's not a travel writer either. She's a travel agent who just happens to have a blog. My God, have you any idea how petty you sound? Yes, actually, I'm well aware. Just as I'm sure he's aware of how amused he sounds. Perhaps I'd be laughing too if I weren't the one San Cecilio's so-called Prince Charming had so unceremoniously rejected. I suppose you have every right to be. I know this hasn't been easy for you, Robert sighs, toying with the golden ring on his right hand. How are you doing? As a working royal and heir to our father's throne here in Mondovia, Robert rarely finds time to exchange pleasantries or engage in heart-to-heart talks with his sullen little sister, so I appreciate his asking. I don't know, I finally answer. In a lot of ways, I think I'm still trying to process everything. After all, my entire life was thrown off course the moment Nicholas announced his intention to marry Miss Walker. My future, which had once been set in stone, was suddenly a blank slate. Others may have found it freeing. Me, I just felt lost. I think there's a part of me that truly believed that it wouldn't happen, that he wouldn't really go through with it. I think we all harbored similar doubts. My brother's eyes are warm and sympathetic. I've always envied him those eyes. He inherited our father's hazel eyes that shine a brilliant green and gold in the sunlight. Our mother and I, on the other hand, share eyes so dark brown that they appear almost black even on the brightest of days. I suppose I should be grateful, I muse aloud. It's not like he left me nursing a broken heart. You really don't love him? Well, of course I love him. We've known each other our whole lives. But I was never in love with him. At least I don't think I was. Had I fantasized about our life together? Certainly. Had I dreamed of my wedding day? Without a doubt. But looking back, none of those daydreams or fleeting fancies had anything to do with Nicholas himself. They were more about finally taking my place in the world, and all of the wonderful things that were supposed to be waiting for me. As special as Nicholas is to me, I've never felt my heart skip a beat when I catch a glimpse of him from across the room, or fallen asleep imagining myself in his arms. Still, that doesn't make it easier to watch the man I was supposed to marry walk down the aisle with someone else. Yet you still would have married him, Robert asks. You know I would have.
I love that. Exciting. And again, having like the flip of the script on the other perspective, absolutely amazing. I love it a lot. And we had audience engagement as well. Miracle Austin said, outstanding, ladies. Thank you. Check out their books. Go, Katelynn, Alissa, and Jackie. Yay.
We love you, Miracle.
I know. And while Alissa was sharing her story, Rosario Azuna said, I love your tone. You read beautiful.
Thank you.
So people enjoyed. And we have time for 2 more questions, one from an audience and one from myself. And Randall Lee Gritzner is tuning in saying, I'm currently writing my 10th book. I took a break from that when it came to my attention that my 4 already published books were in dire need of additional editing. Edits are important. Having a second pair of eyes scanning it, a professional editor is important. We understand. And he says, my daughter is doing the artwork for my book covers. I have met his daughter. I have seen her artistry. She is absolutely amazing. That is so wonderful that she's able to contribute that way and have that together. And we did have an audience question coming from Chelsea Cook saying, have any of y'all thought about audiobooks or any of y'all's books on audio? I have thought about it before. I think it would be really amazing. I just need to do, like Alissa said, I need to do the research. How do I get a narrator? Could I do it myself? I have my very special fancy schmancy microphone over here that maybe I can make a home studio, who knows? But it's definitely something that's in the future. I just need to really, really dig into it and look at it. But it'd be amazing if that could happen one day. So, Alissa, have you ever thought about audiobooks?
I don't know anything about it. I don't know. If I have to record it myself, then I guess I could. I don't know. I don't know how that works, but we can look into it. Here, Chelsea, I'll do it.
We learn, we research, and we learn, and we move forward. And Jackie, have you ever thought about audiobooks or know a little bit more about it?
That is actually the question I feel like I get asked most whenever I'm at a book event. And the answer is my sister and I are researching hardcore. I actually do have an actor in mind for my cemetery tour series. Pierce, we've got to get together and talk and figure out how we're going to do this. Because for some reason, the idea of editing audiobooks just fully stresses me out. And it sounds, it's one of those things that, when I was reading about like, oh, how to format or, oh, how to make a cover, probably I'm making it out to be so much harder than it actually is. But this is the I guess the last frontier in the world of publishing. Yeah. So Pierce, let's get together now that I'm not sick anymore.
It's always good to have friends and support and to help each other. We learn, we grow, we move forward. But my final question sort of has two parts. And so I'm very, very happy to be bringing the Right Crowd 2021 on during National Family Literacy Month, which is the month of November. So for my panelists here, I have, November is National Family Literacy Month. So how did your family influence literacy in your upbringing as you were growing up? Or how did literacy, play a role while you were growing up? And how can families continue to practice literacy in their everyday life? Do you have literacy with your family and things today? And do you continue to have it? I know for myself, National Family Literacy Month is the encapsulation of, how I became how I am today with my parents. I said it before, but they would read to me every night before bed. They would ask, what story do you want to read tonight? And I would pick the book and we would read it together. They would do the voices and they would ask me questions and I would, answer. And just, it seems like something so small, but being able to say, hey, do you want to go to the library today? We're reading tonight. What book do you want to read? It instilled that love and it grew and it blossomed. And here I am now. And I know, even I still practice literacy with my brother, who is a teenager. We will read a book together or we will read a manga together and then we will watch the movie or we'll watch the anime. So it's our little project where we'll try to incorporate, the reading part with that fun, watching the show, watching the movie, things like that. So there's a lot of different ways to do so. It's super, super important. But Alissa, how did literacy play a role in your upbringing? How do you practice literacy with your family? And how can other people practice literacy, not just in November, but beyond?
Well, growing up, my mother always enrolled us in the summer reading programs at the library. And we were walking distance from Fretz Park Library in Dallas. And so we would always get our, we would read our books. We'd walk up there, sit in the library during the week over the summers. I was a bookworm. I just would choose an author through the end of elementary, all of junior high, and all of high school. I would choose an author and read everything. And that kind of stopped in college because then, it was college. And so growing up, I always had a book. With my own kids, when they were small, we would read to them. My husband actually on road trips, I'd always be the driver. And so he would start reading to them in the car and we would, it's like book on tape, but book on not tape. We'd be reading it out loud. When I was teaching elementary school, I would always read. In fact, I hated recess duty. So when I worked at Rainwater here in Carrollton, I would take lunch duty every day. And I read to the third grade, I think 5 books during lunchtime that year. And I do the voices for Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. I read the entire thing in British. For Because of Winn-Dixie, I read the entire thing like, you were there. And I read the whole thing like that. And so everybody was well engaged into those books. And so you just got to get into it. And kids love it. And I hope everybody's a reader because just reading, it'll transport you. If your life at home's not that great, read a book, be a part of somebody else's life for a little while and just for the vacation to get away. So.
I love that so much. And especially, get into it, engage with it 100%. It's always so fun to just see kids' faces, like when you do the voices and for Read Across America Week, I have my whole Cat in the Hat outfit with the gloves and I put the whisker, like get into it, have fun with it. And then you can spark that little light in them too, which is always amazing. And so, Jackie, how did, literacy play a part while you were growing up, either from your childhood? Maybe how did your family influence literacy in your life? And then how can families continue to practice literacy from here on out?
Well, like you, my parents read to me every single night. I mean, I see childhood pictures of myself, and it's very rare that there is not a book somewhere in the picture or in my hand. And it was the same way with my sister. And I mean, now that we're both older, KJ and I, we still share books, or she'll be reading a book. Oh, you have to read this. And I'll say, oh, same thing. So we kind of have, and we get our cousin in on it too. So we kind of have our own little like book club in a sense. But, something that I'm kind of thinking of, my parents have always supported me even when I was, writing my little kid books. My mom was like, oh, we got to save every single one of these, just nonstop love and support for everything that I ever wanted to do. But when I was in high school, we went through some pretty rough times in our family. And my mom and my dad would both be working over the summer. My sister and me, we would be home alone. I wasn't old enough to drive yet. And so that's when I really, really got into Harry Potter. I mean, I'd already been into Harry Potter, but that's when I really got engrossed, and that's when I started writing the fan fiction. So Hogwarts became, like Alissa, like what you were saying, it became an escape for me, and it became kind of like my safe place. And being able to write, it gave me something to look forward to every day. It gave me hope, I guess. It helped me to still believe that things were good, even though things were really, really rough at the time, and helped me still believe in magic and things like that. So no matter how old you are, and again, I was in high school with that. That wasn't me being a little kid. That was me being in high school. And so no matter how old you are, literacy and stories are just so important. And, a lot of people have been like, oh, the world today, it's so scary. How can you focus on fiction? And it's like, I think fiction is so important nowadays because it gives you a glimpse into the goodness that is still in people's hearts. So, yeah.
I love that so much, and 100% true sentiments. It's an escape. I love what you said about, helped you to believe in magic. Like in the real world, there's so much that you can learn. Different authors have different perspectives. Just the three of us here, we have different life experiences, different worldviews, and we can all contribute to our stories differently. But that love of reading and literacy and that writer connection makes us friends and makes us click, and all the sparks and stuff like that. So it's always really, really amazing. And we do have Randall Lee Gritzner saying, as a retired teacher, writing gives me the opportunity to keep teaching in my own schedule. Absolutely. You can always share messages. You can always get that point across. When you put a book in someone's hands, you're giving them a whole world, and you're giving them new insight and new experiences. And it's always so amazing. And our final comment is from One Book or Novel at a Time, Rosario Ozuna, over on YouTube. And she says, Alissa, what are the titles of your books? So get that plug in there.
Yes. I just have the one right now. It is Going Home. And the second one, I don't have a title for yet. I'm stuck.
But it's coming.
Coming soon. Coming. Now you're home. There you go.
Now you're home.
Now you're home. Now what? Going Home. My one and only right now.
Very nice. Okay, so thank you so very much to everyone who tuned in and watched and said hello. Your comments were appreciated. Your questions were very, very, very much appreciated. And your support means the absolute world. This was just the beginning of the Right Crowd 2021. We have 4 more panels spanning all the way until 4 or 5 o'clock today. We've got all sorts of different writers, all sorts of different backgrounds. It's going to be super, super fun. And as always, a big special thank you. You two hold a very special place in my heart, Miss Alissa and Miss Jackie. It's always so wonderful to see you. And we've got, again, Dallas representation today. It's always so fun to be able to connect, especially like this. You know, we're in different parts, we're in different places, but we're sharing the love of reading. And Randall Lee Gritzner just said, the book with no title.
The book with no title.
That's really good. That's really good. And Tammy Karen says, you 3 are wonderful. Thank you for the inspiration. Thank you again for everyone who tuned in. And a final sign off. Where can we find more information about you all? If our audience loved you so much and they just can't get enough and they want to know more, where can we find you and where can we learn more about you?
I have a website. It's just alissashirah.com. And I'm always on Facebook. Yeah, I'm always on Facebook.
Very wonderful. And you had said it was available on Amazon, correct? And then Barnes & Noble in McAllen. Take pictures. Yes. And so, Jackie, where can we find more information on you after this?
I have a website too, but you can find all of my links on my Linktree, which is just Linktree/Jacqueline. There's no N in there. That was my the nickname my mom called me as a kid. And I found out there are a lot of Jacquelines out there, but no one has claimed Jacqueline out there for anything. So that is my my little handle that I use now.
Very
I'll take it everywhere.
Very nice. I love it a lot.
Yeah.
And I know for myself, I also have a link tree, which is just Katelynn Rentería, and that has all of the links to all of the different stuff, including the Right Crowd and all things book related. And then my website, author Katelynn Rentería, has everything there as well. And then again, I'm on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kindle, all that fun stuff. And we have some final comments coming in. Miracle Austin says, so enjoyed, with lots of hearts and claps. Thank you for watching, Miracle. So excited to see you later today. And Roselle Tindaan, y'all are amazing. Thank you so much. And thank you, Katelynn, for hosting this panel. Thank you for watching. It's always so good to see you. And thank you for the support. This is just always, always amazing. And let me see if I have anything else. That was my wrap up. So again, thank you so very much to everyone for tuning in. It's always great. It's always a fun time. This was the debut panel of the Right Crowd 2021, a virtual literary expo. More to come. And this will be available on YouTube, author Katelynn Rentería, and Facebook, author Katelynn Rentería, until the end of time. So if you ever want to watch it again or share some more or say, I saw some really cool authors, you should watch too. You can always go to YouTube and you can always go to Facebook, and they will always be here. We've got more coming in soon. We have one book or novel at a time, saying, so nice to see you all and meeting you, Alissa. Love you, Katelynn and Jackie. You all are on fire. Yay. Thank you, Rosario. And one of my dear friends from school says, you all did amazing. Hi, Esperanza. Thank you for watching. So again, more to come. Thank you all so very much. You were a wonderful audience, and let's keep the pace and motivation and energy going for the rest of the day. See you all at 11 o'clock. Thank you.
Thank you, Katelynn.
Of course. Bye.